Welcome to today's webinar, Driving Efficiencies in Your Manufacturing and Supply Chain with Digital Process Automation, sponsored by Industry Today and Bizagi, the leading enterprise software company, helping organizations transform into digital businesses. Our topic is how manufacturers can achieve significant supply chain efficiencies through digital process automation. Throughout the presentation, you'll have the opportunity to speak with our panelists, Gaurav Malhotra. Gaurav is Ernst & Young's digital supply chain and operations and blockchain leader. He has a track record in building and leading high-performing teams from the ground up, with 20-plus years of industry and consulting experience in the areas of manufacturing, logistics, transportation management, supply chain management, trade compliance, and planning. We also have as a panelist that you can interact with during the presentation is Nordahl. Nordahl is the Customer Success Director at Bizagi based in Los Angeles, California. He's been a BPM professional for about 10 years, currently at Bizagi, and before that, a system integration consultant. Klaus has worked across the manufacturer spectrum with companies such as Honda Motor Company, SC Johnson, Nestle, and Novartis, just to name a few. Klaus works closely with Bizagi customers to help drive their digital transformation initiatives. The time has come to digitally transform your supply chain strategy. Here's why. Industry 4.0 is here. The majority of manufacturers are in the midst of digital transformation with the adoption of blockchain, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Even as manufacturers have begun to adopt these automated processes, even newer technologies are expected. It's not a question of gradual evolution. It's a question of doing what you need to do to survive and remain competitive. Why Industry 4.0 is so important for manufacturers? Well, according to Forbes, the true cost of poor quality, the sum of the costs from repair, rework, scrap, service calls, warranty claims, and write-offs from obsolete finished goods can range between 5 and 30% of manufacturing companies' total revenues, with the range for a majority of companies falling between 10 and 20%. The cost of downtime reduces profitability in a variety of ways. One survey places the cost of 1 minute of downtime in the automotive industry at an average of $22,000 per minute. What is Industry 4.0 solution? What is this solution? Industry 4.0 solutions address the cost of poor quality and downtime and help manufacturers make better decisions through data analysis. Industry 4.0 technologies collect factory data and quickly identify the root cause of problems that result in poor quality or machine downtime. The first steps toward implementing an Industry 4.0 solution involve setting up an infrastructure that enables data collection, storage, and analytics. IoT devices gather data from the machines and sensors in real time. Storage cloud computing that drives down the cost of data storage, providing some information for individual problem solving and better decision making. Data analytics tool that processes your machine data, detecting trends and revealing actionable insights. The importance of digital transformation to Industry 4.0. How important is digital transformation for manufacturers and enabling Industry 4.0? According to a recent report, out of 2,000 manufacturers, 86% expect to see cost reductions and revenue gains from their digitization efforts over the next 5 years. Digital transformation allows manufacturers to, 1, connect with consumers via social networks and gather data on customer needs to tailor production to individual and local needs. This results in customized, more economical production batches. Number 2, give employees access to the information they need most and when they need it. New collaboration platforms and tools make it easy for employees to access everything they need from anywhere on any device. And number 3, optimize production and dynamically adjust to assemble line insights. Get immediate answers to where can we speed up the production? Where are we wasting product or time? inventory lacking? What equipment needs servicing or maintenance? One of the questions I'd like to open up to our two guests, our panelists, are that we're all working with a variety of systems that are all patched together. Connecting them sounds great, but doing it is something else. How do you propose we do this in a way that doesn't end up costing us more, not only in terms of dollars, but efficiency in serving our customers right now? Gaurav, I'd like to talk to you about that first and have you address that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a very, very important point, which a number of large global manufacturers are focused on, because, the realization of Industry 4.0 is not a rip and replace story, right? Manufacturing companies have invested tens of millions of dollars, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars, in the infrastructure, the equipment, the hardware, the facilities that they have. And, this is all about how do you take all of that, great investment into account, and then start a story that, leads you to digital manufacturing, brilliant factory, smart factory, ultimately Industry 4.0, right? And there's several ways to do that. Primarily you have to start with an extremely structured framework in mind that helps you assess the maturity of your manufacturing environment in the right areas. And the right areas being areas like, maintenance or quality or safety or, worker efficiency / operator efficiency, equipment health, and the performance of that equipment over time. And once you, break it up into those elements and assess the current maturity, taking into account what you have, then it's all about developing an extremely structured roadmap that allows you to elevate the maturity, leveraging, obviously, the right set of IoT devices, sensors, etc., to collect any additional data that you might need, and then more importantly, through that collection, orchestrate that data and leverage it for meaningful results in the equation. I think it's very real and factual that manufacturing companies have had a lot of data that they've been collecting for a number of years. So, what's different here is how do you leverage that data in a meaningful manner to ultimately improve the overall operational efficiency in a manufacturing environment, leading to higher elements like throughput, yield, etc. In the equation, whether that's on a single line, multiple lines across facilities, things like that. So that's how I would recommend. Again, assessing the maturity, then breaking it up into the right elements that I pointed out, and then developing a structured roadmap to lead you to higher levels of maturity in each of those areas, leveraging the IoT concepts in mind.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. I appreciate that. Gaurav, I wanted to go to Klaus next. Klaus, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, thanks, Barry. So I'm very much a process geek in a sense, and when it comes to this, process I think is sort of at the core of it. We have grown up well beyond the assembly line processes, but we are now in a still a very very structured process. But it core concept here is that it has to be very connected. I think you touched on a number of good points here, but connected being one key aspect of it. Connected being in the sense that we can collect all the data all the way from the beginning of the supply chain, suppliers externally to a company, throughout your assembly and production processes, and even after the goods leaves the workshop, right? And we want to be able to collect data post-delivery in the customer environment also. So that connectivity is key for it. The other thing is, we getting mountains and mountains of data, and that data has to be context aware. We need to make sure that it's relevant.
What that data has to be? What was that?
Context aware.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that it's relevant for people people that sees that data and make sense of it to support decision making as it applies at a moment in time.
Ross, yeah, go ahead. What else?
And I think lastly, it enables us to be exceptionally agile. And I know we will talk more about the agility on here, but this is another one of the pillars that Industry 4.0 is really relying on, the ability to be agile and be flexible as industry changes, as business changes, as customer needs are changing.
Right, constantly changing and flexibility. We'll get into that too in a little bit. Thank you, Klaus. Going to the next slide, challenges of digital transformation. Perhaps the biggest problem facing manufacturers is that their enterprise resource planning system is old. In terms of today's technology, old can mean something you bought last year, but many manufacturer ERP systems were implemented as long as 30 years ago. It's a patchwork of legacy systems, which weren't designed for today's apps and technologies. Also, ERP, CRM, and many other systems need integration, often a level of integration with customers or suppliers' systems. Orchestration of the processes across systems and integration cross-boundary with external systems is essential. Your IT staff is already stretched supporting these systems and frequently lacks the expertise to properly execute newer technologies essential to effective digital transformation. On top of that, different business units and departments have their own systems that don't play well with others. And of course, there's only so much available in the budget to address these issues. It's all a bit overwhelming. Studies show that manufacturers are struggling to keep up with the pace of digital transformation. Manufacturers frequently feel they have little or no control over digital projects and often lack of leadership to manage digital transformation. According to a study by Intel's Internet of Things group, a company's motivation for adding technology depends on its current level of digital intensity. Companies that are currently at a low level of digitization, look at that, hey, I like to pronounce that word, digitization. You ever get that? Okay, that's you got to make a mistake once in a while here. I think I made a few. Are motivated by how much time it takes to do a particular task. In semi-automatic companies, where both people and machinery work together, it's about productivity. However, in high digital intensity businesses, when they start to talk about the leap to the intelligent factory, it becomes about quality. In any event, a truly integrated and efficient supply chain is entirely possible with the right software and the right approach. But where do you begin? The cost-time effective solution. Processes need to be better connected. People need to be better connected. Both are vital. The secret to successful transformation is to start by focusing on processes. That means designing processes, automating them, building agile process applications, and integrating your data through a single orchestration layer. This creates a platform for efficiency, agility, and the opportunity to leverage cloud systems. If you include and empower your people, they're more likely to invest in the central systems your business puts in place. There's no point putting into place technologies that frustrate people to the point where they engage in their workarounds that defeat the entire purpose of automation. Successful digitization. We're having fun today.
That word again, huh?
Hey, how about help from the panelists? What do you think, Klaus?
Digitization. How about that?
Digitization. Look at that. See, I don't know if you have a word you work with once in a while. It happens. Agile experimentation. Manufacturers need to improve relationships and processes within the factory, as well as between the factory and their suppliers. Organize your service level agreements and remove internal silos. The point of digital transformation is to encourage connectivity, not keep certain functions and employees within their own bubble. Above all, give your people the digital tools they need to co-experiment with ease and speed. Fortunately, technologies such as cloud computing and software as a service have freed up IT time and resources. Reallocate those IT sources to more fully support departments. This all sounds great in theory, but how do you go about implementing this? Let's start with Klaus. What do you think?
So we have a few of our Bizagi customers that really adopted the notion of experimentation or being agile in their work, and part of it is really coming down to maybe a couple of things here. One is the days of collecting huge business requirements documents in volumes, doing all the analysis before you start working. That's sort of in the past. It's gone. More effective is if you have business folks that understands the business, some IT folks that understand the technology, coming up with ways of working that is more creative, and they build applications. The critical aspect of this is you build rapid applications, you come up with a concept, and you deploy it, and you put out the pilot, and you allow that pilot to fail. So once you have something out and you have a pilot, you refine it, you improve, you learn from that experience. So the kind of the change from a culture standpoint is that you have to allow for people to fail, but you want them to fail fast, and you want them to fail small. Old days, you can go off with a big project, and 2 years, 3 years into it, then you start realizing, oh shit, we're not doing the right thing. With an agile approach, you test stuff up front, and you learn, you improve, you refine, before it's generally adopted. And then there's a continuous improvement cycle that is added to it. So you don't have to go all in with 100% accuracy, but you understand that, hey, we're going to be all right. We're going to do our business, and we're going to improve and learn as we go away.
Thank you, Klaus. And Gaurav, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I can certainly agree with what Klaus had to say. Just to kind of build upon that and expand that thinking a little bit more, the old days of large, ERP implementations, multi-years, several $1 million are long gone, right? And the world's about, how do you get to the point of agile, what we call sprint-based, either succeed fast or fail fast approaches. And we're involved in a number of engagements around emerging tech, leverage with our clients that are, 2 to 3 month engagements with multiple sprints built within that 2 to 3 month period, whereby, clients get to see the progress and then iterate on that progress and revise things in that iterative manner very, very quickly. Ultimately, the idea is that as a result of the value, hopefully, that you're able to gain through these shorter, more agile, sprint-based engagements, you then invest back the value that you get to be able to get to the next, engagement, next project that is a continuous iterative cycle around value gaining and investing back, versus waiting, for multi-years to realize the gain in the end.
Gaurav, thank you. I like the fail fast theme there. There's a saying that failing isn't falling as long as you don't fail to get back up quickly. And I appreciate that, both of you, Klaus and Gaurav. I'm going to the next one, successful digitization. There you go. See? You can get right back up. You got ubiquitous connectivity. The biggest mistake you can make is to try to reinvent the wheel overnight. In fact, in many cases, you don't even need to reinvent the wheel. You want to take what already works for you and build on that with compatible software designed for newer apps and technologies. Look to third-party supply chain software providers that have proven expertise and experience that can plug into your existing architecture and unlock the value of your legacy systems. And do it incrementally. You want to take small steps to ensure the new technology meshes with the old, and to ensure employees use the new technology properly and effectively. Once people get comfortable with a new process, then you can scale up and move on to automate additional processes. Successful digitization, providing engaging experiences. Everyone in the organization needs to have access to the same data everyone else does. It may not necessarily be the same view. An executive may not need to see the same level of detail as the manufacturing shift lead or use the same devices, for example, but that executive can opt to see the same detail if needed. Everyone in the organization needs to have the same digital tools to see the impact of operations and to discuss, design, and create processes to improve operations and achieve business goals. Creation of engaging experiences helps optimize process. Successful digitization empower people. We're having a great time today, right? Is everybody having a great time? I'm glad. Providing access to data doesn't automatically result in anything. You have to provide workers with the freedom to experiment, collaborate, and co-create. Create an environment where people can use the digital tools to provide them to do their work more efficiently. Not just your direct employees, but everyone in your supply chain. Facilitate structured communication among markets and your factory so that everyone benefits with more flexible and focused performance. Successful digitization, managing mounds of data. The problem with better data collection is get more of it, lots more of it. For example, GPS sensors track products from floor to store, but they do more than just provide location detail. They collect granular data such as temperature, where the item was stored, how long it was in cargo, how long it was on the shelf. You're going to need some kind of analytics program to sort all this out. But you're also going to need human data analysts to figure out the sorting as well as the relevance of the sorting results. Also, the data collected from one process may be relevant to other processes. So all the processes in your chain must continually push and pull data, analyzing information to optimize processes and make better, more effective connections across multiple suppliers in the chain. So I have, on Adidas, I have both Adidas and Geesinknorba featured on our next slide, have worked with Bizagi, and Klaus is going to speak on that to us right now. Klaus?
All right, thanks, Barry. Yeah, so I'd like to elaborate a little on the two Bizagi customer stories here. First one is Adidas. And Adidas has such an interesting story. It's an amazing sports apparel company. We all know and love it, right? And they have really embraced a very customer-centric strategy. Today the largest retail chain is their online store at adidas.com, and they are interacting directly with customers through the online platform and social media. A little bit less known, perhaps, is that they're also pushing the very customer-centric strategy through a speed factory concept. So in addition to the traditional manufacturing process, they now have fast, close-to-market factories, one in Germany and the second opened this year in Atlanta, Georgia. So with these new facilities, they can manufacture very customized products in very small batches near the market and consumers. They're really changing the game. They're not quite switching this slide yet. If you can go back to Adidas.
Yes, I'm sorry. Lost that.
Yeah. Can you go back?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. There are two very important steps that makes Adidas super responsive to customer demands. First of all, a key requirement for this customer-centric strategy is to have a digital infrastructure, and they need to have very efficient process across the board. To become digital, efficient, and automated, Adidas picked Bizagi as their BPM platform. And some of the processes that are today running on Bizagi's trade vendor onboarding, they have purchase order change management processes, and they have supply chain service desk. Those are a few processes in the supply chain itself, and then they have a number of other processes in other areas. Specifically, for the supply chain management project, they connected about 500 Adidas sales operations reps with over 400 factories across the globe. This really helped them streamline. They had about 5,000 purchase order changes per month, one interesting question is, what is the cost of an email? Well, Adidas eliminated 1 million emails by being automated and more efficient in this process. So overall, they improved that operational efficiency by 60%, while more tangible number perhaps, the trade by the onboarding time was reduced by half, right? So much more effective, much more efficient, and highly automated. The team at Adidas that made it happen is called the Global Integrations Team, and they are driving these Bizagi initiatives. So they picked Bizagi as a EPM tool, among others in their technology stack. They called out a few best practices that I'd like to mention here. First of all, the way they achieved their success, they started with small projects and they quickly showed results to demonstrate early value with EPM. And through that, they gained support from the business. It also helped that they got their CIO on board as a sponsor. And they focused on filling gaps rather than replacing systems. Gaurav mentioned, no rip and replace, right? You augment what you have and fill in the gaps. And very oftentimes they alleviated what almost seemed to be invisible issues, and they gained a lot of fans. To encourage user adoption, they started engaging with stakeholders early on and got them hands-on doing process modeling and sort of touching the processes they were building, helping them to understand the flow and how things would work. As they grow and picked up pace, they addressed several small and medium-sized projects in parallel, and they got much broader visibility in the organization. And lastly, they formed cross-functional team that built competency and got used to working together, and they are able to reuse and leverage existing BPM assets as they had built. Some of the things yeah.
Adidas and Nordahl, are we going to go on to that, or we're still on Adidas, right?
Yeah, I'm still on wrapping up on the Adidas.
Yeah. Okay. No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So lastly, on Adidas, this global integration team, they have worked on 23 workflow projects in 2 years. They get the BPM projects done in 2 to 4 months. Their best case, which is kind of interesting here, they delivered a new approval workflow process in 3 days using reusable assets in the platform. So
3 days.
Very, very impressive story. The second story that I think is a different type of company, Geesinknorba. So it's less of a brand name. Most of us kind of recognize the products as they drive down the street, right, and picking up our refuse. They make and customize garbage trucks essentially. Maybe not as glamorous as Adidas, but nevertheless a very important business with global operations. Geesinknorba customized fleet trucks, so that they get trucks from companies like Mercedes, MAN, DAF, Scania, etc., and they build these to specifications. So their customers might be cities, municipalities, or waste management companies. Each has its own requirements, regulations, branding, etc., that they need to accommodate. So Geesinknorba used to be very manual and old school in its operation, and they recognized the need to change. So they looked for a different approach, including using technology and the trends of where industries go in manufacturing. And they focus on a couple of things. So first off, they realized that at its core, there's the process, and they have to get the process streamlined and optimized, removing any non-value-add activities. Second, technology can optimize processes and deliver information, at the right time, at the right context to make good manufacturing decisions. And they also recognize they have IoT sensors that they can add into the product, and they can provide diagnostics data long after delivery. So Geesinknorba, they selected to work with Bizagi for its digital process management platform, and they defined a concept of a smart unit. That is, each vehicle in the production is considered a smart unit, and they might have 100, 110 units active in the manufacturing process at the same time. Each of them is context aware, meaning they know what has already been done to this vehicle and what is still has to be done, right? So working with Bizagi, these smart units, they can prioritize which unit should be worked on next and what is the right activity for it. And it's taking intelligence and data from the process, the manufacturing process, and the optimized based on availability of resources, if there are the right parts are in inventory, and customer priority. So this has really eliminated all their wasteful work, if you will, and it's now a very digital workflow. The operators, these are people that actually really like building the vehicle, customizing the vehicle. All the excess administrivia has been removed from them, so they can focus on the quote-unquote the real work. I mentioned, I think the vehicles are equipped with IoT sensors. So even after they're delivered, the vehicles, they are now providing data back to Geesinknorba with maintenance needs. So they have effectively improved the maintenance cycles and improved the overall customer service and product performance. Their results are impressive. They're on the slide here, right? But production efficiency increased by 45%, production output by 40%, decreased lead time, and fun, much greater customer experience. So really a good story for us.
When you say flexibility to improve customer experience, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So when a customer makes an order, it's oftentimes in context of request for proposals from different vendors, and it's a rigid process. But Geesinknorba, even after they have ordered a business, they can take in changes to requirements at the very late stages in their operations. So if you at the 11th hour decide, well, I really want to have something done differently on these 3 trucks versus these ones, they can accommodate those, and that level of flexibility makes them much more appealing for their customers.
Increasing that value to the customer.
Yeah.
Great. Klaus, thank you very much for that overview. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I want to go into how can you tackle digital transformation? You're a manufacturer, not a software developer. You need to team with a partner that can help build a digital platform that connects the myriad of data stores and technologies across your organization. You need the Industry 4.0 technologies that enables data collection and intel gathering. And you need the analytics platform to process the data. And you need a digital automation platform to orchestrate end-to-end processes. With the ability to view real-time data, you have the starting point to develop agile processes using automated tools to drive efficiencies in your supply chain. Industry 4.0 is here. Delivering Industry 4.0 starts with defining the technological capabilities that your business needs. Robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, blockchain, business process automation platform, aka BPM. Which of them does your organization require most? And how can you introduce those innovative tools to your existing working environment by integrating them with legacy technologies? We here at Bizagi can help. Today's webinar is based on how Bizagi has implemented digital platforms that reimagine manufacturer supply chain operations. In the meantime, here's your opportunity to pose any questions to the Bizagi Customer Success Director and Gaurav Malhotra with Ernst & Young. I want to open the floor and look at these questions. We have first question from our audience and I'll address this to Gaurav. How can Bizagi help us achieve digital transformation? Actually, is that okay? Gaurav, you there?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm. Yes, so I'll answer it in a general context. So how are we, let's say, helping companies with their digital transformation journey? And obviously a digital transformation journey can be an enterprise-wide journey, or it could be in the major functions within your enterprise, and the functions could be, customer, supply chain, finance, etc., or an enterprise-wide, like I said as well. And we've helped a number of clients in different capacities across the spectrum. We have clients like, Royal Caribbean or Mondelez and others where, we've helped in a very large capacity around a digital transformation journey as it relates to how do they completely reinvent and transform their business from the standpoint of the product offering that they're offering to the customer and the experience that the customer gains as a result of that newly invented offering, and how do they interact with the customer right from the standpoint of sending out promotions or the customer exploring options, and then ultimately the experience that the customer gets through the cruise line, and then looking for subsequent business once they've ended the first experience. And like I said, in a number of other areas, whether that's for industrial manufacturing firms or consumer products and retail industries, we've helped them in very, very large functions, supply chain and finance in particular. And it all starts with having a very robust strategy in mind. A number of organizations in the market are doing, digital projects, either still because of market pressure or pressure from competitors that, we got to do something because somebody else is, without having a real strategy or a roadmap and an end state in mind. And most of those engagements, most of those projects end up dying without realizing the true value and the potential because they're not connected to an end state. You're not able to integrate it, within the enterprise and make them broad and all that stuff. So again, like I said, it starts with the strategy, and the strategy needs to be an enterprise-wide strategy with all the right elements factored in terms of how this transformation would impact the various facets of the organization, the external parties, meaning your customer base, and how it may produce new channels for you to be able to go to market with. Because, a digital journey or a transformation journey has two broad spectrums that it'll realize for you. One is the operational efficiency gains that you're able to gain internally within the enterprise as a result of that transformation in the right functions. And then the second one would be the exploration of new channels or new revenue models that you're able to go to market with that are outside of your traditional bounds, right? So we're seeing a lot of traditional manufacturing companies now starting to go towards software-based companies, or traditional car manufacturing companies moving towards more technology based companies, and not even calling them car manufacturers anymore. So it's again, new channels, new product offerings, and hence new revenue models that you're able to gain. Once you have that strategy, then it's all about how do you develop a roadmap that allows you to start with your right starting points in mind, but with the end state completely, figured out or realized from the standpoint of putting it on paper. And then once you have that roadmap developed, then it's about execution against that roadmap in an iterative, agile manner with the value that you get invested back into the execution of that transformation, so that, again, it's not a multi-year, very, very large transformation, and you see it in the results in the end, but it's more iterative, agile based with a real end state that's already very well defined, and you're just marching towards that end state slowly and steadily.
Thank you, Gaurav. And Klaus, also, how can Bizagi help us achieve digital transformation?
Right. So Bizagi would be the technology, or one of the technology elements in that strategy. So companies, they have legacy systems of different types inside and outside of their organizational boundaries, and you do need an orchestration layer that can sit on top of that. That's what Bizagi provides in its platform, and it's obviously process oriented and process centric, right? Enabling the automation of process execution from sort of the beginning to the end of the process. We're often talking about order to cash process, the high level process, and any element in that value chain from the order to cash essentially can be reviewed, assessed, and optimized, and be put into that roadmap that also Gaurav is mentioning, right? And how you want to achieve that. So yeah, Bizagi ultimately is the technology platform that enables that orchestration.
Great, Klaus. Thank you very much. Let's do another question from the audience. Let's go back to the idea of managing mounds of data. To what extent can we depend on AI to sort through that? But at what point do we need human beings to really figure out what's important and what's not? Put another way, how do AI systems integrate with human ones? Gaurav?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good question. Yeah, and I'm going to extend that to, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cognitive, as a whole, if you will, right? In it all gets to the point of, what we call a heavy and intelligent automation overall, by the leverage of, these new emerging technologies. And the idea is that, in today's world, we spend a lot of manual manpower around elements which, we believe can be automated and made much more intelligent, leveraging, again, AI, machine learning, cognitive in the equation. So that, most of your routine work is done in an automated manner. And, oh, by the way, by the leverage of these technologies, it heavily increases the accuracy, the efficiency of the output that's produced against that work. And it is heavily reliable. Obviously, it'll take time for individuals to get comfortable given that, where we are in the leverage of these technologies and the maturity of those. But that's the roadmap and the path we're on. And then ultimately, so that human intervention is only needed, where things truly fall out of, the cracks, if you will, right? And that human manual labor saving that we get as a result of this heavy intelligent automation then gets leveraged into a number of other areas where it would be more suited from a leverage standpoint, whether that's research and development or, new product offerings or business models that we, explore going to market with, versus, where it's spent today. I'll give a couple examples, particularly in the supply chain space, right? One is on the execution side, in the warehousing operations space, right? A number of you may know in the warehousing operations in today's world, specifically here in the Americas, maybe not as much in the EMEA yet, but, we spend a lot of manual labor around elements like picking, packing, scanning, labeling, etc. And a lot of that is not a concept anymore, but a reality can be automated by the leverage of the right set of digital technologies, all connected using IoT enablement efforts, and then uplifted using elements like AI, machine learning, cognitive. And that's, bringing elements like, smart forklifts, drones, automated guided vehicles, smart labels, augmented reality, virtual reality, all together to realize that heavy automation in the warehousing operation space and then uplifting it using, AI, machine learning, and cognitive. The second example is in the planning space, right? I mean, large global organizations have in some cases thousands of people in their planning organization who are simply doing complex planning work around demand planning, supply planning, forecasting, production scheduling for organizations. And we believe that, the future is headed that where we can heavily automate a lot of that, planning work by the leverage of, again, cognitive machine learning, artificial intelligence, and then free up a lot of manual labor in that space so that labor gets leveraged in much more heavily complicated areas. And then that labor is only intervening against the output of those automated planning outputs that are coming out when it's truly needed, when things fall off the crack, when it's not jiving with the other areas of supply chain, et cetera. So hopefully, that kind of, makes things real. But, heavy leverage, and as all of us continue to hear, that's where the market's, headed in terms of the leverage of AI, ML, and cognitive. Right?
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you. And Klaus, we have only a few minutes left, and this is our final question. Do you want to add anything to that? Would you like to read that again, or you're familiar?
No, I just was thinking of the case study of Geesinknorba. They are now adopting machine learning in their operation processes to really select which unit is it that they're working on. So what used to be a sort of labor-intensive activity of figuring out all the different products that they have on the floor, and a lot of parallel activities that can take place. They have AI algorithms essentially that calculates what is the right product to work on at this moment for this individual. What is the true priority for this product to get out the door, and what is the parts that I have available for me. So they have actually adopted very much hands-on the implementation of that. And this is, they of course are not unique. This is commonplace. But it's really the glue that really makes your process your process optimized, right? You really include all the relevant factors. The data to support that is complex, and you need to have your system to really crunch, if you will, the numbers to derive of what is the right activity with the right item to work on at that moment in time. So having the right tool to really analyze that level of data, I think is critical. I also recently sort of walked through a big warehouse distribution center, right? And you have inventory coming in, and you have shipments going out, and you see all these forklifts and the resource that are running around picking and packing and ultimately shipping stuff. Again, it's an optimization challenge to make that happen. And one core area where we see optimization being used most effectively is to have the folks who are picking up the inventory optimize that process, let them pick in batch and create bulks of outgoing shipments. And there's big operational efficiencies to be gained if you can sort of get a handle on that optimization process. So those are a couple of tangible examples of where it's like, and I think I lost the question, but hopefully I provided a little.
Again, just the final piece was really, put another way, how does the AI systems integrate with human ones, really? So, but you've answered it well. Good. Klaus, thank you very much. And that was Klaus Nordahl. He's with Bizagi. And we also had, I want to thank Gaurav Malhotra with Ernst & Young. Thank you both for joining us in your interaction during the presentation. I really appreciate it. I wanted to thank, obviously your interaction here was great, and great questions from the audience also. We'll try to respond to questions we didn't get to today via reply emails after the event closes out. We hope you found the session to be of value. You'll find a wealth of useful information about Bizagi, our sponsor, at bizagi.com. That's Bizagi.com, including, one, how to watch a platform demonstration giving you a chance to see Bizagi in action. Two, how to download Bizagi for free test usage today. And three, and for those of you who want more insight on best practices, you'll find a bank of fantastic content, from white papers to webinars to customer case studies. So many thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it. This is Barry Farber, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.